flies on the eyeballs guy because of his claims that when we're done with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they're going to have flies crawling across their eyeballs. He gave orders to cut bin Laden's head off and bring it back in a cardboard box on dry ice. But the worst part of this is that these guys built a network of ghost prisons around the world where they were committing unconscionable acts of torture against people. The lead torturer, the guy who created that whole system, Jose Rodriguez, not only is he not in jail or facing charges, he's on a book tour for his book Hard Measures. You can tell a lot about our society by who's in jail and who's on book tour.
Yes, you can. Mark, let's talk a little bit about the White House rationale here. You talk about Tenet has a relationship to John Brennan, who in turn has a close relationship to the president. Dennis McDonough, who is, of course, the chief of staff, is also involved in this. Tell us a little bit about the sort of the jigsaw puzzle. Okay, we lost Mark, but Jeremy,
Dennis McDonough, it sounds like Dennis McDonough is really sort of micromanaging this process. And let's remember, this is a report from one body of government, from the United States Senate, that is going to be examining this whole program. And what's essentially happening is that the White House, at the highest levels, is basically going through and editing what the American people can and can't read in this report about one of the definitive moral questions and legal questions of our time, the extent to which we were involved with systematic torture, with lying to lawmakers, with misleading not only the Congress, but the American people on a wide range of issues that resulted in our country going to war and being involved with systematic acts of torture.
Well, but what I don't understand is, given, and I think that there are a lot of analyses here, but the president came in and torture was one of the first things he addressed in his first days in office. He is the constitutional law professor. This, as Dave Cole writes in the Washington Post, torture is not a public relations problem, which is in some ways how it's being handled here. It is a grave human rights abuse and a war crime. Given the gravity of the assertions in this report, why is the White House giving any sort of quarter to CIA officials who may have been who are implicated in this?
Right. I mean, it became very clear early on in the Obama presidency that he made a political decision, and it probably was a survival decision in terms of his respect at the CIA, that he was not going to prosecute individuals that were involved with the torture program. And what's happened since then is he's done a lot of running of defense for the CIA. It would be very interesting to see Senator Obama debate President Obama on these core issues, because when you look at the national security policy of the Obama administration, the counterterrorism policy of the Obama administration, what you're looking at is a very hawkish defender of some of the most egregious practices of the CIA. Not that he's cheerleading torture. Obama's never going to come out and say that. It's that he's protecting the very people who built this infrastructure. So he's co-signed the Bush administration's program by refusing to have any effective accountability be possible from one other branch of government. The Senate is not allowed to actually investigate this thoroughly.
Mark, I think we have you back. In terms of the role of the Senate, Dianne Feinstein, we played that sound from 4 months ago where she said maybe it's wishful thinking, but I hope this report will be declassified in 30 days. It's been 4 months. What is she doing behind the scenes? One cannot imagine that she is particularly happy with the fact that the CIA, who she has been at odds with, the Senate Intelligence Committee has been at odds with, is involved to this degree on the release of the report.
Yeah, I mean, she did go along with this deal to allow a few former officials to see the document, but she wanted it under her terms. She wanted them to see it at the Intelligence Committee, but she lost that battle, and now they can see it in one of the intelligence agencies. I mean, remember, the backdrop here is that the relations between the committee and the agency are terrible. The fight that she had earlier this year with CIA Director John Brennan over what she thought was the agency spying on her staff who had been doing the report. There were some charges and countercharges. Relations are as bad between the agency and the Intelligence Committee as I think they've been in a really long time.
Yeah, but let me just to put a finer point on that, Mark. Dianne Feinstein seemed to welcome the news that there wasn't going to be further investigation into CIA criminal wrongdoings in terms of spying on Congress, and let that go pretty precipitously when that was announced.
Right. I mean, she has not spoken about that. The matter has sort of been dropped. I mean, Eric Holder has certainly indicated that he is not going to investigate these charges or doesn't think that there's anything criminal involved. But it certainly poisoned the well on the relations between the two sides.
Well, we will keep the calendar marks going and see how long this takes to finally be released to the American public. Jeremy Scahill, thank you for your time. Mark Mazzetti, thanks again, and thank you for the great reporting.